All right, we're back here today talking with Taylor, mindset coach from the Market Flow Trader community and also a day trader himself. Taylor, how's it going today?
It's going, man. If you saw the markets today, it went.
You're telling me, my friend. I honestly still can't believe that it dropped the way that it did. But hey, we made money and that's what it's all about. So today I wanted to talk about something. We talked about emotion last time. Today I want to talk about maybe you have some thoughts on this. Have you noticed a difference? Like, is there something like biologically, DNA wise, like what is it why is it some traders are really exceptional and some traders aren't? Is it the process? Is it the work? Is it the studying? Is it like, if you look through history and you look at some of the best traders in the stock market, what sets them apart from people who fail? Like, what really is the big secret there?
That's a great question. And I don't actually have an answer, but I remember I read, or maybe it was a webinar. I watched a webinar. So Peter Davies from Jigsaw Trading did this webinar and basically said, look, like we've done all this research. These are the traders that seem to do really well. They're traders that come from this kind of background, and they've got this kind of money in the bank, as a cushion. They grew up like this because they have different, mindset around money. And then they define this other kind of trader, well, this is how this person grew up and this is what their kind of money mindset looks like. And they're never going to be successful. And I'm like, wait, I'm in that other category. I grew up poor, single mom, and I think you have a similar experience, right? Like where money was not plentiful in our household growing up, right? And so, I didn't have like this nice, awesome cushion, trust fund, whatever as a cushion to fall back on if something went wrong. And so, I do think that there is some aspect of like your mindset around money that makes some traders, kind of quicker to adopt good trading practices than maybe others. For real, if you have stresses outside of just the pure trading part of your world, if you've got stresses with money, if you've got stresses in your relationships, that does make trading harder. And so it's really hard to say, like, is it personality things? Is it how we grew up, or is it environmental? There's just so many factors. There's all kinds of things that can affect our trading. But one thing I do believe, Patrick, I really do believe that anybody can be a successful trader. It might take some people longer amount of time. It might take some people a much faster amount of time. And some of that could have to do with their mindset. It could be the work that they put in. It could be a number of other factors too.
Well, they say the quickest way to become a millionaire as a day trader is to start out with 2 million. So my argument there is maybe the guy that's got the trust fund, he is a little bit quicker to maybe lose a lot of money. If you're broke, you're like, what are you going to lose? $1,000 trading, you're not going to lose $1 million. That's for sure. So I don't know I mean, like you said, I came from nothing, you came from a background similar. We both put in the work and both got to where we're at because of the effort that we put into it. So I think there's got to be a very strong correlation between the effort and the desire, like being stubborn, because what we're trying to do is almost impossible, right? Like the facts are that it's almost impossible to be a day trader. Like at the end of the day, 90% of day traders lose. So that stat alone would deter most people from trying. So you have to like really be stubborn to the fact that you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to put in the effort. Anyone around the world, I've seen people that, they live in India. I saw a guy the other day, he's living in India. He's got no money, but he's like making $50, $60 a day trading. And that's like a serious income for him. And I'm like, that's awesome, because at the end of the day, if you have Wi-Fi and you have a computer, you have a phone, you can learn a strategy and you can start trading. So it does kind of justify or kind of validate your point that anyone can really do it. You don't need to have like a college degree. You don't need to have a fancy background. You don't have to come from a fancy family to find success as a day trader.
I love that story, right? Because that's life-changing for some people, right? 50, 60 bucks a day could be life-changing for some people. For other people, the target might be higher. Like everybody's individual, everybody's unique. Everybody's from, starting at a different spot, so you're starting at a different point. I think I'm a big believer is like, it doesn't matter where you really begin. it matters where you end up, right? You want to be on that positive, trajectory. And part of that is the work that you put in, for sure.
Might be a little personal, but when you first started, did you have like a goal? Did you have like a personal like trading goal where you're like, I want to make $1,000 a day? Did you set a goal for yourself?
Probably went through phases where, I'd heard that. And so like that became, pretty important at some point. I've learned over time that when traders focus on profit, traders fail faster, And so, in fact, we just had this conversation in my group coaching calls where we need to focus on process, not profit, right? We need to focus on how can we get better at becoming a good trader, about following our rules, about executing our process, because the profit will follow. But when you start focusing on profit, you don't have any control over whether or not a trade is going to be successful, right? Every trade individually is random. You have a 50-50 chance of a trade working out. Now, you should have a set of rules that have an edge so that, over the course of 20 trades, you have a probability of success, right? But each individual trade is completely random. And so when you hinge your success or failure, this gets into like, how do you define success, right? How do you define failure? When you hinge that on something that is completely outside your control, then you're setting yourself up for real failure. And think of it like, take trading out of this, right? Think about a relationship. If you're like, oh, I'm only going to be happy if beautiful woman falls in love with me, right? You don't have control over whether that woman is going to fall in love with you or not. And so you're hinging your happiness, your feelings, your emotion, your goals on something completely outside of your control. And that doesn't work. But you can focus on, well, are you a loving person? Can you love somebody else, right? Can you focus on becoming a better trader? Can you execute your process 100%? Those are the things that you want to focus on versus the profitability, because you have no control over that part.
Well, that actually leads to my next point. So I'm single right now. I'm trying to look for a girlfriend. No, I'm just
Relationship advice is free too.
That's a book that we're not trying to open here on YouTube, at least. And no. So I actually, I'm a big believer in, like we said, like, putting in the effort and making sure that, like, if you're coming into trading and you wake up in the morning and you're like getting on the computer and all you're thinking about is like, oh man, like I got to pay my rent today, and if I don't make a certain amount of money, like going into that like having that almost like like I don't even know what you call it, like having that feeling where you have to make a certain amount of money, or you're hurting for money and you got your last $20 to trade with. Like that is such a very like dangerous place to be. And I see a lot of people trying to trade to like make money that they want to like pay a bill with because they're broke or whatever it is. And I think it's so important, if you're going to really attempt to be a day trader, that you have to like make sure that you're kind of not so much like, you don't have to be rich, but you need to make sure like, hey, all my bills are paid. I'm working extra hard so that I can have a little extra money for trading. Would you agree? Like, I think you already talked about it a little bit, but that's like obviously a huge thing, right?
I would add this too. So like you probably have this too. You might have friends that come and say, hey man, I like what you're doing is awesome. Why don't you teach me how to trade? Like, I'd love to learn because I want to make a bunch of money. And my response, with anybody that approaches me is like, hey, wait, like this isn't about money. Like you have to become obsessed with trading in a way that's positive, that's going to get you motivated to do the right things, right? So like if you're in this game because you want to make money and you're in a hole and you're trying to get out of a dead-end job, or you're in a relationship you don't like and you see this as an avenue out, like that is not the why that you want to lean on. So in the coaching world, we talk about what's your why, right? Why? What's your why in terms of why are you doing this? Why do you want this thing in your life? And so I think every trader, take a step back and ask yourself, what's my why? Why are you doing trading? What is your mission around trading? What are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to do? Why is this important to you? How does this align with your values? Because when you have to go through the very difficult moments in trading, it's that thing that's going to sustain you. It's that thing that's going to help you overcome those hurdles and those barriers, not the, hey, there's a potential for you to make a bunch of money, because that's just never going to be a mindset that's going to work for most people.
Funny because 100% that's true. Like, no lie, I'm not gonna I'll be 100% honest with everybody. When I first started trading, I had a goal of I wanted to get rich, right? I wanted to get rich, and I had months where I made a bunch of money, and I was like, oh, this is awesome, I'm getting rich, but it wasn't consistent because I wasn't consistent because my life wasn't consistent. I had I made $10,000 this month. It's awesome. It's so amazing. And the next month I lose 10,000. And it was always ups and downs, but that's how my my financial life was as well. And now that I'm finding consistency, or now that I'm finding success and I'm making more money, it's funny because I don't really think about money the same way. I don't think about I want to make $100,000 so that I can buy a Lambo. Where when I first started trading, 100%, it was a goal of I would be looking at sports cars and whoa, if I can make $100,000 this month, I'll go buy me a Lambo. So it's funny the more money that you get. I think when you talk to really successful people that are really successful with money, they're really successful with business, you lose that desire of wanting to spend money to buy these things, but you're almost you get to a point where hey, this money that I have, I want to protect it. I want to grow it. I want to find a way that I can make this money turn into more money, but I don't want to go out and just blow it because I put in a lot of work and a lot of effort. And like you said, if you're just focused on getting rich quick, you're never going to get rich quick because it really is it's a stair. You're going up the stairs. You might go up one stair, down two stairs, back up three, and you're constantly kind of up and down, but you really have to see that end goal, but it's got to be a meaningful goal. It's got to be a why. I think some people today was a great example. We had a guy in the live stream. He's man, I make $5,000 a month salary and I made $9,000 a day trading, futures. And now I'm going to get off the computer and I'm going to go hang out with my daughter and go take her to do something. I'm that's the dream, right? That's your why. That's the why of hey, I want to be able to quit my job so that I can spend more time with my daughter. I don't want to quit my job because I'm making $1 million trading. I want to quit my job and I want to be able to day trade full time so that I can spend more time with my family. And that's that's a meaningful why. And I think that gives you a lot of power because again, that if you don't perform, you don't follow the plan, you don't do what you got to do, it jeopardizes that dream of having free time to spend with your daughter over the dream of oh, I can't buy a Lambo. If I don't follow my rules, I'm going to not be able to buy a Lambo. So yeah, I think it really comes down to having that meaningful why and really spending time thinking, what is it that you're really searching for? What do you really want over just trying to buy a Lambo?
Yeah, I can tell you, I trade too, so yes, I'm a coach, but yes, I also trade. And yes, I work on my mindset all the time. And I'll tell you, my most frustrating days are not days where I'm losing. It's days where I don't follow my process, right? It's days where I screwed up because I didn't place a trade I should have traded, or I violated a rule, an important process rule. And I still do that, right? I still do that in my trading. And so it's a constant effort to kind of to focus on that part of my trading. And that's where my frustration comes from. It's not coming from losing. It's not coming from the profitability part. It's not coming from the money part. And so I see that as healthy, right? And even though I'm still working and developing, a lot of those areas, I'm doing it in a healthy way, right? And I think that's where I want to see the traders that I work with get to, is to shake off this focus on profitability, this focus on, just the money part of it, focus on process, and the money will come. The money will start.
I think there's a direct correlation, at least I believe this, that if you're not disciplined in other aspects of life, if you eat unhealthy, if you don't sleep at night, if you're going out partying, you're doing everything you're not supposed to be doing, quote, not that I'm against partying or having a good time, but if you're living a very kind of just wild, crazy up and down life and you really have no discipline outside of trading, how am I going to go out and party all night and then wake up at 9 a.m. after I went to bed at 6 and be hey, I'm ready to trade now, let's go. I'm obviously not going to follow my rules because I'm going to be hungover and I'm going to be all wild. So I think there's a very strong correlation between wanting to have discipline in other aspects of your life. And it made me a better day trader when I started focusing on other things outside of trading that would benefit my trading, making sure that I go to bed at night, making sure that I work out. Doing these things have made me a better day trader. Do you agree from your standpoint over there?
Yeah, and it's interesting because the culture of trading, when you go back and you look at those 1980s or earlier, videos of the trading pit, and then you like, I don't know if you guys have ever watched documentaries. Like, there's a really good documentary on YouTube about that follows these traders around, and they were partiers, man. They were doing cocaine at night. Like they were out with the hookers all night. Like they were the ultimate party guys. And that was the culture. But it was a different kind of trading. Like they were in the pit. There was a different energy there. They were face to face with people. They were battling and like elbowing people, right? It was a totally different environment than what we go into every day, right? Our environment is different. Our environment is it's between you and your mouse, right? Those are your tools, you and your mouse. That's it. And so when we talk about process, right, which process is defined as everything that we do to improve the execution of our strategy, we have to include things like, all the stuff that you're doing, physical exercise, sleep, maybe meditation practices, right? These things are just as important as the skills of, entering limit orders and, being able to manage your trades and those kinds of things that have a direct correlation. There is this, we can look at the science. Like the science tells us the benefits of sleep, the benefits of getting the right, supplements in our body, the right nutrition and those kinds of things. In the end, trading is a game of, using your mind to create wealth. That's it. You're using your mind to create wealth. So what do you need to do to nurture your mind? And it's all those things that you talk about and more, right?
There was guys that were making millions of dollars trading the pit. Like there were famous traders who would, they would buy the dip when everybody else was fearful, and they would buy the dip, that was back when they were trading like the full size contracts, when it was like, I think like $1,000 per tick, per dollar move in the contracts. And, guys were just like putting their hands up saying, I want 20 contracts. And it's, you're up and down 100, 200 grand in a matter of minutes. So it was a totally different ball game back then. And then what's interesting is those same exact guys that had a lot of success trading, in the pit, trading side by side to other traders, you put them in front of a computer, you give them a mouse, and they can't execute. They can't make money. I'm not saying that was all the pit traders, but there was a lot of pit traders who, once everything went digital, they were just out on the curb, because it was like, well, it's a totally different mindset. Being in a pit of people and having, like you said, that energy when everybody's like, buy, 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 buy. And it was like, okay, yeah, I'm buy, 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 buy. But if you're in front of a computer, I mean, there's nobody else next to you kind of giving you, the energy or the idea of which way the market's going. So that's very kind of, I would have loved to kind of seen it like at the peak, in the moment when it was like really kind of going off there at the exchange. Would have been cool to kind of experience.
Yeah, your live stream is the closest I've come to that.
Yes, that was actually my goal. Maybe I'll go get like some extras. I get like 4 or 5 people to sit next to me, and we can all like kind of fight each other and like buy, sell, and go nuts. It'll be a new experience. So I think the core of the epiphany of all this is, there is no secret. There is no like, oh, you went to this college. Oh, you have this family pedigree. Oh, you do this, you do that. Everyone's going to be a little different. Everyone can find success. Everyone's got to find their why. They got to find what works for them. And that's what's so cool about trading. Some people can trade a certain strategy that if I look at it, I'm like, oh my, like you trade that strategy? That sounds terrible. But if it works for you, it works for you. If you find success, it works for you. So like you said, I think there are little things that stand out that make some traders better than others, but it really comes down to just like really finding what works best for you. And some people might be very, very quiet and they just have no reaction to things. And then some people like me might get really excited when they're in a trade. It's kind of vice versa. So everyone's a little different, but again, it's cool that we agree, or I guess, I think it's complimenting that we agree that there is no secret. There is no one reason to why somebody's better than the other person.
Yeah, there's a process that you can follow, that everybody can follow to get there. But, the individual paths on that process, the amount of time and duration are all going to vary. And I think it's really important to, like, in a world where we're so inundated with social media, with information, we're in these communities, we're on Discord. It's easy to kind of feel like you're falling behind because everybody's posting, hey, I had a great winter today. And you might have had a losing day, and you're like, why everybody else is winning but me, right? And I think that's, just remember, everybody's going through a process. Some people are having winning days, some people are having losing days. Just follow the process, trust the process, follow the path. You're on your path, and every path is individual. Some people might take a little bit longer, some people might be a little bit faster, but doing the work is going to get you there.
That leads me to a great outro there. Bring your path to the Market Flow Trader community. Maybe your path leads to the Market Flow Trader community. If you guys want to learn more, there's a link down below to learn more about what we're offering in the Market Flow Trader community. You can get some one-on-ones with Taylor, learn more about the group coaching and all that fun stuff. So let me know down in the comments below.